Legends aren't often created overnight, dear listeners, and while this was certainly the case for our Toymaker, one thing was certain. Everything changed once Charlie Snaps came along. The story the Toymaker would later tell about the night he created Charlie went as follows. It was a dark and stormy night. Not that dark and stormy. Now that's better. As I was saying, it was a dark and somewhat stormy night, and the Toymaker had retreated to his workshop, where he resided in a secluded area along the western edge of Pendlesham Forest. The building itself was infamous for having at one point been the home of a large acting troupe who had died in a terrible, horrific accident. It had been a long day, and the Toymaker found himself nodding off in his chair. He began to dream, and in his dream, he found himself exploring a vast jungle with a wisecracking doll who called himself Charlie. The Toymaker would later tell people how Charlie had appeared fully formed in this dream, complete with his trademark safari helmet and utility satchel. The Toymaker and Charlie went on an adventure, and it occurred to the Toymaker that this was in fact only one of many adventures the two had embarked on together. Charlie seemed to know this jungle better than the Toymaker did, and soon the pair found what they were looking for, a forbidden chest containing untold treasures. Suddenly, a nearby bolt of lightning jarred the Toymaker awake, and as the tree that had been felled by its impact hit the ground, it made a loud snapping sound. Charlie Snaps, the Toymaker said to himself, and he immediately went to work on what would become his greatest creation. Charlie Snaps the Toy made his debut the following spring, accompanied by a 50-page book full of illustrations and stories chronicling the many adventures he and the Toymaker had been on together. Treks through the jungle, exploring haunted houses, an encounter with a banshee, even a ride on a rocket ship. In the book, Charlie and the Toymaker would bring their discoveries back to a secret laboratory hidden deep in a dormant volcano for analysis. Charlie Snaps was an immediate success, with his doll and book flying off the shelves almost faster than they could be manufactured by the Toymaker's company. While he was proud of his creation, the Toymaker longed for people to meet the Charlie he had met in his dream on that fateful night, and so began his next endeavor, a live television special simply called The Laboratory. It was set to air the following Halloween for one night only. In later years, this would simply come to be known as Episode 0. The show was simple. Only the Toymaker and Charlie appeared, and together they told the tale of the jungle trek which had sprung into the Toymaker's mind on that fateful night. The production was modest, consisting of interactive dioramas and figurines that had been rigged to move in very crude ways. The Toymaker was no ventriloquist, however, and so Charlie's voice and movements were painfully forced. But none of that mattered, and the show was a success. Television producers were soon flooding the Toymaker's office. People wanted more, and 1 year later, that was precisely what they received.